I don't need this anymore. If there's no reason to be here, then leave.
Upon hearing these words, my parents joined in, and everyone began strongly urging me to leave the house. I had been treated as an intruder by my family many times, and I was feeling at my limit. I'm at my limit too. I'll live my life the way I want. With that resolve, I started devising a new plan. I am Catherine, 33 years old and still not married. I work as a freelance web designer and enjoy working with various clients. With a computer, I can work from anywhere in the world, so there's no need to be stationed outside. I have converted one of the rooms in my home into an office completely and proceed with work according to my mood and condition. Despite being able to work in such an ideal environment, the peace was disrupted 2 years ago. The cause was my parents who appeared unexpectedly. On a bright sunny day, while I was focusing on my work at home, my parents suddenly visited. As soon as they entered, they began inspecting the rooms and started commenting on my lifestyle and work.
Look at this. The house is quite spacious. With so much space, it's more than enough for both of us to live.
Exactly, some rooms are clearly not being used. Besides, it's a bit extravagant for Catherine to live in such a big, fine house all by herself.
In that case, how about moving here by this weekend?
I think that's the best idea. I look forward to a new life.
In front of me, without considering my wishes, my parents were discussing the next steps. I, who hadn't even considered a joint living arrangement with them, decided to assert my stance. Wait, please. I have no intention of living here with Mom and Dad. What are you suddenly talking about? As his face reddened, my father spoke emotionally.
This house, didn't you pressure my brother to get it? Are you planning to occupy it alone while ignoring us?
I didn't pressure anyone. I discussed it thoroughly with my uncle and officially took it over.
Don't argue. In fact, our house has become quite old and is in need of repairs. So, Mom and I are planning to move here this weekend.
I can't believe this is happening. This house was actually a gift from my father's brother, my uncle, who had cared for me dearly since my childhood, as a token of appreciation. Although the house remained in my uncle's name, he happily allowed me to use it freely. According to my father, our original house had considerably aged over time, and it needed some work to continue living in it. My mother was a dedicated housewife focusing on household chores and raising children, and with my father's income not being ample, they were unable to afford major renovations. In such circumstances, this fine house that I inherited from my uncle caught their eye. Although I wasn't too keen, my parents had already decided to let go of our family home, and options for their next residence were limited. Hence, feeling a sense of responsibility to help them somehow, I eventually accepted the idea of living together with my parents. However, a series of regretful events followed this decision. After moving in with my parents, particularly the interference and criticism from my father increased.
Hey, Catherine, you're in your mid-30s, aren't you? Have you given serious thought to getting married?
At the moment, my passion and fulfillment in my job come first, so I haven't considered marriage.
If you keep saying things like that at your age, you might really miss out on the opportunity to get married. You should take action like Megan.
But I haven't heard that my sister's marital life is going smoothly. I'm content with my life right now. In response to our conversation, my mother, who seemed interested in the discussion, began to express her opinion.
Hold on. Stop criticizing Megan unreasonably. Unlike you, she is married and also has a stable job in a company.
I admit she's married, but I'm equally committed to my job as well.
But you're always sitting in front of the computer, aren't you? Are you earning money through some illicit means with that job?
What are you talking about? I'm utilizing the skills I've properly acquired to earn an honest income. There's no need for such needless worries.
Humph, talking back to your mother like this. You and Megan are 180 degrees different in personality and mindset.
My parents have always compared me and Megan. I couldn't understand the reason for this, especially since while Megan is indeed living a life as a working adult, her position is nothing more than a clerical job as a temporary staff member. It's not that I look down on temporary staff, but in terms of income in my current profession, I pride myself on having more stability than Megan, at least. Perhaps it's a generational thing, but my parents might find it hard to understand the value of my work from home job. Even so, being belittled by them over and over again was, honestly, mentally exhausting. One evening, while I was cooking in the living room, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. When I opened the door, my always cheerful sister, Megan, stood there holding many large bags. What? Why are you here?
I'm so happy to see you after such a long time, Catherine. Actually, it's sudden, but I've decided to live here starting today.
Shocked, I was in disarray and inadvertently raised her voice.
But this house, it's really spacious. If Uncle had given me such a beautiful house, I would have been even more delighted.
Wait, what's going on? I wasn't informed about this at all.
Let me explain. I've already told Mom and Dad. Actually, I recently got divorced, and now I'm on my own.
Divorced. When did this happen?
I'll tell you more about it later. Anyway, let's support each other from now on, okay?
Saying this with a smile, she briskly headed upstairs, quickly choosing a room for herself. I was bewildered by the situation, but seeing my parents fully supporting my sister, I felt helpless. In the days that followed, while my stress increased, Megan, after quitting her job, spent almost every day criticizing my actions and work, along with our mother.
Hey, Mom, don't you think this new dress is lovely?
Oh, it really is. It would shine even more when worn by a beautiful girl like Megan.
I think so too. But it wouldn't suit Catherine at all, would it?
Catherine might be better off with a simpler design. She might feel that PC work at home is the best for her due to her complicated workplace relationships.
Mom, you revealed your true feelings saying that.
While preparing dinner in the kitchen, I overheard their conversation. Although I was irritated by their words, responding to them would only meet their expectations. So, I took a deep breath and continued to hold back my emotions. One fine day, I received a call from a friend and it was arranged for me to adopt one of the newly born puppies at her place. The puppy's name was Fluffy, a pitch-black Shiba with large, round eyes that tugged at the heartstrings of anyone who saw him. I had always adored Shibas since my childhood, so having this one join our family was a great joy. I thought that Fluffy would bring a lot of comfort to my lonely days working from home. Fluffy, you are a member of our family from now on. Nice to meet you. Fluffy responded with a woof. I didn't have a detailed discussion with the entire family about bringing this puppy home. I believe it's my right to have a pet in this house, for which I pay every single penny. So, when I welcomed Fluffy as a new member of the family, I had anticipated the family's reaction, but their response was more severe than expected.
What on earth? Bringing a dog home all of a sudden, without a word of notice.
Indeed, I am surprised too. Dogs sometimes have a unique smell. I'm a little concerned about that smell.
Really, Catherine? It would have been helpful if you had consulted or at least informed us before doing such a thing.
Their sudden reproach left me responding calmly. Everyone, please listen. This pup is a gift from a friend. Besides, I will bear all the expenses for Fluffy's food and medical bills, so there won't be any financial issues. I should have freedom over my life and choices in this house. If you have a problem with that, you might want to consider finding another place to live. At first, they continued their reproach, shocked by my words. But seeing the adorable figure of Fluffy slowly changed their minds.
Actually, he's quite cute. I'm your mama, Fluffy.
Look here too, I'm your papa.
And I am your sister. Look at me, Fluffy.
I couldn't hide my surprise at their sudden change in attitude. The earlier reproach seemed like a lie as the entire household became smitten with Fluffy. The house became lively and harmonious thanks to Fluffy, and I felt more at ease going about my daily life than before. As the family's affection towards Fluffy deepened, their harsh words towards me diminished, contributing to a more peaceful home environment. However, these peaceful days were suddenly disrupted by an unsettling event. One day when I was out, a call from my sister showed up on my cell phone. Hello, what's up?
What are you doing now? Come home immediately.
At why? Her voice was different from usual, hurried and full of impatience. What happened? Megan exposed her emotions there and then, speaking furiously.
You know, unbelievably, Fluffy peed on my brand new dress. It was such an expensive dress. I wonder if this odor will come out.
Seriously? That's troubling. But if you wash it right away, the smell should go away. Though, thinking about it, leaving such expensive clothes lying around casually in the room, isn't it a mistake on your part?
Why are you blaming me? Clearly, it's because Fluffy hasn't been trained properly. It's your responsibility.
Take a deep breath and calm down for a moment. Fluffy is still a small puppy, so these mistakes happen. Besides, didn't you say you would take Fluffy for a walk today? But you haven't taken him out yet, have you?
Well, yes. I was planning to take him out later, but that's beside the point. You need to train him properly, and you must pay for this dress.
Upon returning home, Megan's anger had indeed reached its peak, and the tone of her voice was considerably raised. Also, it seemed our parents were aware of the incident, both giving me worried looks. In a fury, Megan rapidly threw the soiled dress in my direction, and the volume of her voice continued to rise.
Look at this dress. It was completely new. You'll be paying for the dry cleaning.
Why should I pay? After all, you left your dress in the middle of the room, and on top of that, you didn't take Fluffy out for a proper walk, which led to this situation, right?
What are you talking about? All of this is your fault. You brought the dog that caused this problem into our house, and now we have this mess.
Why are you suddenly treating Fluffy as the root of the problem? Is it right to scold him so harshly for a single mistake? Or are you just complaining because I brought him home?
If you had trained him properly, this wouldn't have happened. If you can't train him, you shouldn't have gotten him in the first place. And what about the cost of this new dress? What are you going to do about it?
Why does my family only want to listen to their own opinions? In front of my angrily trembling sister's face, I was just stunned and at a loss for words. Then, it was our parents who raised their voices next.
Catherine, when a problem arises, the first thing to do is to take responsibility and apologize to Megan.
Exactly. You were the one who brought Fluffy home. Now, because of Fluffy's actions, we have this problem.
Wait, why do I have to apologize alone? Fluffy is still a learning puppy. He's a living creature. Shouldn't we forgive him for occasional mistakes?
Those occasional mistakes are the big problem. This situation arose because he hasn't been properly trained.
Catherine, I worry about how you'll raise your children in the future. With this kind of discipline, the child won't grow up to be a responsible adult.
Isn't that a bit harsh? If Megan had taken Fluffy for a walk and tidied up the room properly, this wouldn't have happened. Angered, Megan shouted at me.
I can't take it anymore. Neither you nor Fluffy belong here. Get out now.
What are you saying?
I'm being clear. You're no longer needed in my house.
You call me a work-from-home freeloader, but aren't you also not working now? I'm paying for most of the living expenses in this house, you know. Amidst such unreasonable behavior from Megan, my head went blank, and to make matters worse, my parents agreed with her.
Catherine, you being here spoils the mood for everyone. It's time for you to leave this house.
Really, just your presence makes our hearts heavy. What a trouble magnet you are.
Like this, all three were consistently cold towards me, repeating that I should leave. The anger that had been building up inside me had reached its limit and exploded. I couldn't hold back any longer. I felt that if this continued, I'd go beyond my limits of patience and resort to extreme actions, with a vengeance against my family. I decided to gather the bare necessities, take Fluffy, and leave the house. Just before leaving, Megan turned around and sharply threw words at me.
Everything is your fault. If you had listened and obeyed what we said, we wouldn't have fallen into this situation.
They still seemed unaware of the severe situation they were in. They seemed not to notice the harsh days that were about to come. But that's no longer my problem. In that house, I'm only interested to see how much fun my family can have. I left the scene with a smirk, taking Mofo with me. And a few days later, as expected, I received a frantic call from Megan.
Catherine, come over. I really need your help urgently. There's a problem at home.
What happened?
I can't believe it, but we were told suddenly to leave the house by the end of this month.
Oh, and what do you want to do?
What do you mean, what do you want to do? This is serious.
So I'm asking how you want to handle this situation?
Why is this happening? Why do we have to leave this house all of a sudden?
It's simple. I started the process to sell the house. Megan was so shocked, she couldn't say a word for a while.
What are you talking about, Catherine? You have no right to make any decisions about this house.
Actually, that's not true. A month ago, the ownership of this house was officially transferred to me from my uncle. So now, I am the rightful owner. Megan's eyes widened in disbelief. The fact that I had become the owner of the house and that I hadn't told the family about it clearly hit her at this moment.
You must be joking. Even if the house was transferred to your name by uncle, you can't just sell it easily, right?
Actually, I thought the same. But on the day when I was told to leave, I consulted with my uncle directly. Surprisingly, he said, "Now the house is Catherine's. Do as you like, and you should keep a distance from such unreasonable family as soon as possible."
I can't believe this.
By then, I could hear my parents panicking over the phone speaker.
Wait, Catherine, is this a joke? If we can't live in that house, where should we go?
Are you really doing this? Understand your position as a daughter. We hope you consider our circumstances too.
What is filial piety? I asked calmly, yet with emotion. What have you guys been thinking all along? You alienated me by comparing me to my sister. In reality, I've been supporting the family financially for the past few years. I sympathized and let you live with me because you had nowhere to go. My strong assertion left my parents speechless, with surprise and confusion painted on their faces. I decided to continue speaking, catching my breath. Remember who kicked Fluffy and me out of the house? You only thought of your own benefit, ruthlessly evicting us, the original residents. How shameless. People as narrow-minded as you deserve a fitting retribution. Dad was shocked by my words.
am really sorry. Please forgive us. Can we figure something out?
He apologized deeply, bowing his head. It's too late. Accept the fate you've chosen. You brought this upon yourselves. Infuriated, I hung up the phone immediately. Shortly after, I decided to block all contact from my family in haste. At that moment, Mofuo seemed worried about me, woof, and let out a soft whine. Looking into his innocent eyes, I'm sorry, Fluffy. I got mad and raised my voice, but you don't have to worry anymore. I will definitely protect you. I hugged him tightly to reassure him. This distance from that troublesome family marked the beginning of our new lives. According to the information I received later on, my financially struggling parents and sister were forced to move out of that house. My father with an unstable income, and my mother and sister with no income. It was highly unlikely for them to sustain a stable life. From what I heard, my sister is struggling under the pressure from our parents to work endlessly. Their family atmosphere seemed to be worsening. While I didn't care much about their living situation, it wasn't hard to imagine that the quality of their daily lives had significantly deteriorated after I left them. The results of the actions they once chose led to their current predicament. It felt like I was witnessing the consequences of their choices. Meanwhile, I moved to a new pet-friendly apartment, spending quality time with my beloved dog, Fluffy. I can work whenever I want, and there's no more nagging from my family. The income I earn is all spent on enhancing the quality of life for me and Fluffy. My current state of life is the most fulfilling I've ever felt. Fluffy, how about we go to the dog park and have fun running around freely today? Woof! With the noisy family no longer around, Fluffy seems more lively than before. From now on, I genuinely want to cherish Fluffy and aim for peaceful days together.